Before we dive into any specific exercises, or for those of you in OHF, before I take you through an entire class on how you can actually improve your thoracic spine and your rib cage, I actually want to do a few things first. I want to help you understand what it is that you might be doing in your daily life that's actually causing you to have a stiff thoracic spine, because many people are doing things thinking that it's helping them when it's actually hurting them. I also want to dispel some of the common myths around thoracic spine mobility, and I want to help you understand why so many people are out there running through these various thoracic mobility drills, trying to improve their thoracic mobility and either getting short-term relief for days, minutes, weeks, or hours before they stiffen up again, rather than actually getting any long-term results. So the first thing to keep in mind is that your thoracic spine, which lives between your neck and your lumbar spine, is actually where your ribs are housed. You have 12 ribs in that section of your spine. Those ribs are actually like little levers in your thoracic spine. When they are moving well, when you are able to breathe properly, they actually help to pry open space between your vertebrae and then come back down again. So once again, when you're breathing well, you're actually mobilizing your thoracic spine as you breathe. However, just because you're breathing well enough to be watching this video right now does not mean that you're breathing well enough to actually be optimizing that function and actually mobilizing your thoracic spine throughout the day in the 20 to 22,000 breaths that you take in a day. In fact, it might be the opposite. You might be breathing in a way that is actually causing you to have a stiff thoracic spine. Whether that's using your neck and just pulling your rib cage up to draw air in rather than getting your actual rib cage to expand, or just breathing into your belly and getting your belly to expand and getting expansion down low below your ribs, but not getting much in your ribs, etc. So it's worth considering your breathing, and for that reason, when I take you through this full class in OHF, we are going to be incorporating breathing into the exercises strategically. Now, building on that, many people have also been told shoulder blades back, chest up, and this is proper posture, and this is where you should be all the time, or this is what your goal should be throughout the day. That's a problem for many people, because when you do that, you pull your shoulder blades back, those really large bones that live on your rib cage, and now they're anchored into your spine, and they actually block your ribs from being able to move and expand. So for that reason, you're going to notice when we do some of the breath work that we're going to do in this class, you're going to notice there's a reach involved or something involved to get your shoulder blades out of the way. And that does not mean bad posture. That just means that your ribs need the ability to expand in order to actually be able to function properly and decompress your thoracic spine and mobilize your thoracic spine. And we cannot do that when your shoulder blades are pinned back. So it's also not coincidence that in my practice or my physio practice, my military workers and my dancers are two of the biggest populations that I see with really locked up thoracic spines. And it's not just that population either. So many people have been harping on the pull your shoulder blades back, pull your chest up, and defining that as good posture, that we've screwed up a lot of people in the process. And I'm not saying that you should be super slouchy, super rounded either. I'm just saying that trying to live back here with your shoulder blades back and your chest up is not going to help you when it comes to thoracic spine mobility or when it comes to proper breathing mechanics. And both of those are super important if you want to have a healthy spine. Now, the other mistake that many people will make is that they'll realize, okay, my thoracic spine's really stiff, my thoracic rotation is really limited, and so they jump to all of these thoracic rotation-based exercises. Whether it's your thread the needle or any variation of an exercise where you're really trying to get that thoracic spine rotating. However, in order for your thoracic spine to be able to accommodate rotation, you have to be able to flex and open up this space between the vertebrae in your thoracic spine. So for many people, especially those people that are stuck in that kind of shoulder blade back, chest up position, if you try and rotate from that position, you're going to notice that you're not going to get very far. However, if you actually relax a little bit, let your sternum kind of sink back, not pull it down to the ground, but just let it sink back a little bit, and then go, okay, from here, how far can I rotate? You're going to notice that you can rotate way further because you lock your thoracic spine physically when you're stuck in that position, that extended shoulder blade back position, and then good luck rotating. Again, just the way that the vertebrae are built, it can't accommodate that well. So for a lot of people, we actually have to get them out of that and improve their ability to actually flex and create space in their thoracic spine before we can really make headway working on improving their thoracic rotation. So again, for many people, they know their thoracic spine is stiff, they have the right idea, yes, their rotation is limited, but they might be missing other things that need to happen first before they can really accommodate better rotation, which may be why so many people are chasing these thoracic mobility drills where they're really pushing extension and they're really pushing rotation, but they're not really getting the relief that they're looking for or the freedom of movement that they're looking for in their thoracic spine. Now, for this first exercise, for simplicity's sake, I'm actually just gonna do this on the ground, but you're welcome to do this in a chair, either if you're more comfortable with that or if you just wanna experiment with it. It's arguably better in a chair. However, like I said, for simplicity, I'm just gonna do this on the ground. Now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna take my stick, I'm gonna have my hands about shoulder width apart, and I'm gonna anchor it on the other side of my feet. You can play with how much hip flexion you're in when you're doing this exercise as well, if you're doing it on the ground. If you're doing it in a chair, I recommend setting up where you've got your hips underneath your shoulders, not your hips way in front of your shoulders, not your hips way behind your shoulders, but get yourself stacked. So if I'm doing this on the ground, I'm gonna take my stick and I'm gonna place it on the other side of my feet. If you're doing it in a chair, you're gonna have to take your stick and probably put it inside a door frame and then lean back into the door frame, or you could use a squat rack or whatever you have accessible to you so that the stick is anchored and then you don't actually have to place it behind your feet. So like I said, you can play with how much hip flexion you wanna be in here. What I'm now gonna do once I've got that in place is I'm going to think about trying to take my sternum, so that bone that lives in the front of your rib cage, and sink it backwards, which is going to cause me to sit back into a stretch between my shoulder blades. Meaning I'm going to notice kind of a stretching sensation in my upper back. Let's see if I can get my hair out of the way there. So I'm going to sink back into that. So I feel a nice stretch between my shoulder blades. I don't have my shoulders up in my ears. I'm maintaining a decent amount of space there, and I'm just kind of falling back into it. So I feel a stretch somewhere in the back of my rib cage. Now, like I said, you can play with different angles here, and we're gonna hang out here. We're gonna hit a few breaths here. So what's gonna happen is when I do this breathing, I'm gonna do it very strategically. I'm going to inhale silently through my nose. I should not hear the inhale. You should not hear the inhale. We want it to be super slow, and you are resisting the urge to let it go into your belly because your ribs are not in your belly, and I want this air going into your rib cage and into your lungs and not into the belly today. So when we take that slow inhale, we're trying not to let it go into the belly. We're trying to bring it in super slowly. When you exhale, you will blow it out through your mouth. And as you exhale, you're gonna see, can I sink that bone in my sternum back a little bit further? Can I sit back into a deeper stretch between my shoulder blades? So as that air comes out, you will sink back into that stretch. You will stay there, and then you're gonna take another slow inhale. If you exhale fully and you do a good job of it, you're gonna notice in like the last 15 to 20% of that exhale, your abdominals, your obliques will naturally engage for you without you even having to think about it. You're just blowing the air out and it happens for you. Your job is to maintain that, not add to it and bear down, but just maintain it as you take the next slow inhale, which is also gonna help to prevent that air from going into your belly, and it's gonna send even more air into your back on the next breath. We're gonna repeat that about 5 times. I will do my best to talk you through it while I do it with you, but I am gonna prioritize the coaching you over the doing it well myself, because it's important that you guys do it well at home versus me just trying to show off here, okay? So let's do it together. Let's sit back into that stretch between our shoulder blades, whether you're using your feet to anchor the stick or you're using the wall or door frame or squat rack, whatever you're using. We're gonna take a nice slow inhale. You don't wanna hear it. You don't want it to go into your belly. When you exhale, you're gonna blow that air out and try and hang back into a deeper stretch between your shoulder blades. Now you should feel your abs. Don't lose them. Take another super slow inhale. Once you're full, you're going to blow that air out, sit back into a deeper stretch. Really visualize your sternum going back. Nice slow inhale, not into the belly. And then you're gonna blow it all out, sink a little further back. Hold for just a second, silent inhale, not into the belly. And then you're gonna blow it all out, sink further back if you can. Try not to tense your entire body up. Nice slow inhale. Last one. And when you exhale, just sink a little further back into that stretch. Amazing. So you should feel a big stretch in your upper back. And as you get better at that and you don't let that air go rushing into your belly, you should feel your ribs actually opening up and expanding and rotating outwards as you slowly bring that air in. And then you should feel a stretch from the inside. So when you use that stick and you reach forward, you get a stretch from the outside, meaning you lengthen all that tissue in your back. Then you maintain that stretch. And when you take that slow inhale and you don't let it all go rushing into your belly, you maintain that oblique contraction. Then when you bring that air in, it has to go into your back, and therefore the tissue in your back has to yield and stretch further from the inside, so from the inside out, to accommodate that air coming in, and you get an even deeper stretch as you inhale. Those stretches from the inside out are super, super effective, especially as compared to just stretching from the outside, if the underlying problem or a underlying problem that you have is a stiff rib cage.